Hey everyone, welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Settle in, because what we're about to unpack has set social media ablaze and turned a private sweet moment into the week's most irresistible headline. If you're new here, make sure you stick around until the end. Every clue, every whisper, and every heart-stopping detail is right here. For months, Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel tried to keep their closeness tucked safely behind the scenes. Their connection began quietly on set, where their playful banter and unforced harmony were the talk of insiders. They insisted it was all camaraderie, nothing more. But the longer they tried to shield it, the more obvious it became that something tender was taking root, something that couldn't be contained by careful smiles or scripted statements. Then last night happened. On her social media, Yağmur shared a serene photo, a vase filled with flawless white orchids, arranged so tastefully that you could almost feel the calm of the room they were in. The caption? Barely a whisper. The power sat in the small card placed between the petals, a card that the camera caught just clearly enough for everyone to read. Together we are beautiful. BB. Within minutes, that message flashed across thousands of screens. The initials did the rest. Followers, already suspicious of the warmth between the pair, didn't hesitate. Comments poured in at a dizzying pace. Some fans were giddy, posting that it felt like a confession in plain sight. Others argued it could be a carefully worded gesture of friendship. But the sentiment carried a glow that felt more personal than platonic. If it was meant to be subtle, it wasn't. If it was meant to be deniable, it was anything but. What deepened the intrigue was the absence of a tag or mention. Yağmur didn't reveal who had sent the bouquet, and she didn't need to. The digital detectives who follow her every move got to work. Rumors began swirling from a single thread, a florist's whispered tip that the order had been placed under a name that matches those initials. A familiar driver, a familiar building, a familiar sender. The timing, the style, the message, it all traced back to one person. By now, you know exactly who. People haven't forgotten that winter sighting in Paris, either. A blurry photo, a reflection in a cafe window, and a glimpse of two silhouettes that looked far too much like Barış and Yağmur to be anyone else. At the time, the internet cracked in two, one site convinced it proved everything, the other insisting coincidences happen in big cities every day. No statement came, only a chorus of just friends and polite smiles in interviews. Yet that postcard city keeps returning to the center of the story, as if the Eiffel Tower itself were a patient witness waiting for the protagonists to stop hiding. As the orchid photo climbed in likes, the replies turned increasingly bold. "Stop hiding, you're gorgeous together," said one. "After this, you can't deny it," wrote another. Someone else simply posted, "They make beauty look effortless." The volume was so loud that by dawn, it wasn't just a comment section, it was a narrative taking shape in the public arena, crafted with the same care as those white blooms. Meanwhile, one half of the pair stayed quiet. True to form, Barış didn't rush to make a statement. Those close to him say he'd hoped to lift Yağmur's spirits. She's been navigating long days, late nights, and that heavy fog of fatigue that blurs everything. He wanted to give her a moment of peace. Just that. No spectacle. No cloak and dagger storyline. Just a reminder of how good they are together when the world stops spinning. If you followed his public image, you know this checks out, thoughtful, restrained, and precise with grand gestures when they count. And how did Yağmur react? The same whispers say her eyes shone when she saw the note, that she laughed at the signature even as it made her heart race. To her close friends, she reportedly said it felt precious, simple but heartfelt, like someone leaving a light on for you when you thought you'd be coming home to a dark room. She didn't need to write a paragraph for the world. A picture of orchids said enough. But here's the question that has everyone guessing: are we witnessing a reunion or a relationship that never stopped, only chose invisibility over spectacle? Was there a cooling between them and now a warming, or has the temperature been constant all along, hidden under the steady hum of work responsibilities and public pressure? The answer remains carefully guarded, tucked behind smiles and polished replies. Still, the reality of that little notecard refuses to be ignored. Together we are beautiful. It's short and disarming, a line that sounds like both a confession and a promise. Social media wasted no time turning the phrase into its own movement. Without a hashtag symbol, without a campaign, without so much as a press release, that sentence became the night's rallying cry. People posted their own versions of it beneath the photo, almost like a chorus to a love song they've been hoping to hear live. Industry watchers remember that this isn't the first time Barış and Yağmur have dominated the conversation simply by existing in the same frame. Their on-set rapport was electric, not flashy, but grounded and irresistible. There's a texture to their chemistry that blurs the line between performance and feeling, and that's exactly why every small detail becomes a clue. When distance appears, fans worry; when a gesture appears, fans celebrate. Last night, celebration won. There's also the matter of timing. A gesture like this doesn't happen on a random Tuesday without reason. Friends hint that the past few weeks have been especially taxing for Yağmur, juggling responsibilities, criticism, and the kind of endless schedule that makes it hard to even recognize your own reflection. The orchids, then, become more than flowers, their applause button. An invitation to breathe. And that card, signed with those telling initials, feels like a hand extended, palm up, asking for nothing more than a shared moment. Of course, all this plays out against the backdrop of public curiosity, which never sleeps. The idea that their affection could have bloomed off camera has captivated audiences. It's a story as old as the industry and as fresh as last night's post. And whether they preferred to keep the truth tucked away, the world has a way of gently pulling at the corners until the fabric loosens. By sunrise, every entertainment page had carried the photo, focusing on the message, the sender, and the new question hanging in the air: what comes next? Will we see them photographed together again after this? Will they continue to keep their feelings out of the spotlight, or has the spell already broken? When you've told the world that together you are beautiful, the next chapter tends to write itself. It's worth noting that neither of them is careless with affection. When they offer it, it matters. That's why the silence around the card speaks volumes. This isn't denial, it's protection. Protecting the fragile part of connection that grows best off stage. Protecting each other from the noise. And yet, last night, they let one gentle beam of light escape on purpose. Fans who followed their arc from first rumors to Paris whispers to last night's reveal are nostalgic already, remembering the little moments that fueled speculation. A laugh shared between takes. Matching smiles at a wrap party. A social media glance that lasted a few seconds too long. Individually, they mean nothing. Together, they mean everything. The entertainment world has a phrase for it: a love that slips out of the screen and into real life. It's rare, and when it happens, people can't look away. If that's the path we're on, then the orchids were mile marker 1, the card mile marker 2. And whatever comes next will be the turning where mystery finally meets clarity. The public seems ready. The pair, cautious as they are, feel close to ready too. As for that florist whisper, it's the kind of breadcrumb that gossips live for. An order placed in a familiar name, a driver recognized, a delivery time that matches her evening post. Put together, they form a pattern you can't ignore, even if you pretend to. And in the middle of that pattern stands a quiet man who prefers action to explanation, and a woman who prefers warmth to words. You can debate motives all day, but the gesture's effect is undeniable. Suddenly, people were kinder in their comments, softer in their tone. It's as if the orchids reminded everyone that behind the lenses and headlines are two people trying to find space for tenderness. Perhaps that's why the phrase "together we are beautiful" resonated so quickly. It speaks to something universal. We're at our best when we're seen by the right person. By afternoon, the conversation shifted from proof to possibility. Would they attend an event side by side? Would there be a quiet dinner in a familiar neighborhood restaurant, where a passerby might capture what publicists won't confirm? Would a magazine cover drop hints that interviews refuse to echo? It's a guessing game now, and one moment can tip the board. Still, it's not lost on anyone that both Barış and Yağmur value their privacy. That's never been a marketing strategy, it's a boundary. They let the work speak, then they let it rest. And yet the sweetest stories have a way of escaping, like perfume remembered in an empty room. Last night's bouquet wasn't just a gift. It was an opening. Hours after the post, a friend of a friend murmured that Yağmur slept better than she had in days. Maybe because she felt understood. Maybe because sometimes a few white petals and a single line on a card do more than 100 explanations. Maybe because when the right person reaches out, the world feels manageable again. Through it all, Barış remains silent in the way that makes fans lean forward. Silence, after all, can be its own language. He said nothing official, but the note speaks in the accent of his heart. And those who've watched him for years know he tends to be most sincere when he isn't performing at all. The day ended with a sweet irony. The phrase "together we are beautiful," which arrived without a hashtag, somehow trended anyway. People wrote it in captions, typed it in comments, whispered it on live streams. It took on a life of its own, a shared refrain hummed by thousands who want to believe in a story that is both delicate and real. And so we arrive at the cliffhanger. The flowers were sent. The card was read. The world responded with one collective intake of breath. Now it's up to them. Maybe they'll keep holding this close, letting it bloom where cameras can't reach. Maybe we'll catch another glimpse, a stolen frame here, a gentle laugh there. Whatever path they choose, one thing is clear: the beauty that keeps finding its way to the surface isn't just for show. It's a truth that refuses to be hidden. We'll be watching, with the same patience those orchids showed the camera last night: quiet, open, luminous. If they step out together, we'll be here. If they keep it sacred, we'll respect the silence and read between the lines. Either way, the moment has already entered the lore of modern romance, a single, tender sentence, signed by a man who meant it, read by a woman who felt it, and witnessed by all of us. This is Whispers of Turkish Stars, and that's the story as it stands tonight. If you felt your heart slow for a second while hearing it, you weren't alone. We'll keep following every gentle twist and subtle turn. Until the next chapter, stay close, stay kind, and remember, sometimes love doesn't need a spotlight, it just needs to be seen.